Remember how you loved the stories at bedtime about princesses and fairy godmothers? Well, you may want to hold on tighter to your teddy bear and keep that nightlight on, because these are not your mother's bedtime stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Not Your Mother's Bedtime Story. It has been a minute since we have recorded, but we are happy to be back, and we've got some great stories and episodes coming up for you this season. So, like I said, it's been a minute. There's been a lot going on. We have done a lot probably since the last time that we have talked, and I know personally a lot has happened to me. We'll have to get into it in another episode, but I had my own creepy, spooky experiences, still not explained, but it's been a while since I've had another one, so I'm happy to report that I'm sleeping soundly for the moment. And but we'll have to get into those. So teaser, we'll get into those later on, and we can talk about it. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, we've been busy. Haven't had a chance to sit down and record any episodes. I think we've just gotten carried away. We had some, family vacations this summer and family wedding. And so, yeah, we've just been a bit busy, but the gang's here. We have everybody want to say hello.
Chrissy's here.
Hi, Colleen's here. And the creepiest thing that happened to me this summer is that my kids are gone and left me all alone with my husband. So that's a scary situation of navigating life without kids at home. So that's my scary story this summer.
Well, this is Karen, the mom. Get used to it. Yeah.
Well,
right.
So anybody else have anything, or we want to get into it?
All right, you guys all know the PI, right? So
yeah,
right. Home, and we were there tonight, and the bartender, she said, I was in here for the longest time all by myself, and she says I kept hearing like door slams and knocking, and it's like, she says not a soul is in this place but me. And this one guy was saying, well, it used to be a brothel and stuff at the turn of the century. And it was like, oh man, she's like, she was totally freaked out. And she took me upstairs, and it's the creepiest upstairs. And she says, I think we should spend a night up here. And I'm like, I don't think so. It's terrible. I mean, I'm sure there's bats and stuff. I'm like, no. But the PI, they said, and this one guy said, oh, I know of at least 4 ghosts that are in the PI.
That explains that bar railing carpet at the one.
that stuff's definitely haunted.
That thing was haunted in itself. That thing could grow legs and walk away.
The cure for cancer was lying in that carpet.
But we'll have to do a night there at the PI. It's like, oh my God. But no, she was freaked out. And she's like, there's something here. There's something here. She was so afraid. But
well, there's some future content for you right there, Mom. I think we need to. We'll broadcast a future episode from the attic of the PI.
Oh God, it's yeah, okay. All right, moving on.
on to the guests.
I'll start and kind of share how. So my son, you've all met my son. He's very into the paranormal, and I came across something on my Facebook page that said that they were doing a paranormal investigation tour at this historic house in downtown Huntsville. And so said, Kane, do you want to go? And he said, of course I do. So we went. And so Leslie, who's I'll let her introduce herself in just a second, was the host of this paranormal investigation. So we got to spend a few hours at this historic place in downtown, and it was really, really cool. We're actually going to do another one coming up here shortly. And so we kind of connected, and she said she's got tons of stories. And so we are very excited to hear about them and all of the experiences that they have had. And so this is just one part, one snippet, but we're going to get into it. And I think that there are a lot of exciting things to talk about and to listen to. So with that, I will hand it over to Lesley and Sherri, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Lesley Ann Hyde, and I'm the founder of the Southern Ghost Girls Tours, and we're a team of paranormal investigators that are 95% women. Yes. We have a couple of guys that are helping us now. But we're a team of ladies who all have very, professional careers. We're moms. But we're all on a team together to do and host tours at different historic venues in Alabama, and we do some in Tennessee and in Georgia. So, and I've been doing this with my team, the Southern Ghost Girls, since 2018. I can't believe how time has flown so quickly. And then Sherri, she's going to introduce herself, but she's one of my team members that has been with me a pretty long time now, and we're friends also. And we've gone on different, Savannah, Las Vegas. We've done some fun things together, and we always do some spooky stuff at those places that we visit. And I'll let her talk about herself.
Hi, I'm Sherri. I live here in the same town as Lesley in Alabama. I'm an engineer by day and ghost hunter by night. And I started with the Southern Ghost Girls in 2019. I've always been kind of really enthusiastic about the paranormal, watching the ghost shows, and I went to one of her tours back in 2019 and really, really loved it, and met up with her and became one of the team members, and I've been on the team ever since, and we've had some awesome experiences at all the different venues we've been to all throughout the Southeast. So,
and Sherri, how did you guys really get interested into the paranormal, or how did it all start?
Well, with me, and this is Lesley, I really started having just weird things happen to me, unexplained experiences. Probably the first time was when I was around 6 years old. And I had always been very intuitive, a psychic. And when I was young, I didn't really understand any of that was happening. And it was not anything that you would dare talk about to people. I mean, my mom and I would have experiences and we would talk about things, but I would actually, have vivid dreams, get messages, very intuitive, and I could tell, basically I get messages how to solve problems or solve issues. I will see these problems or issues kind of before they happen. But I also get messages from the other side, spirit, that comes through and will talk to me, especially when we're doing some of our investigating. We'll get messages from spirit. But I got involved in it. I started doing ghost hunts and paranormal investigations at different cities that I would travel to. I mean, like Pensacola was a really big one. Pensacola, St. Augustine, Savannah. I'm trying to think. New Orleans. I would always go on the ghost tours, and they would have sometimes these ghost tours, and they would call them paranormal investigations, but really it was just a ghost tour where you're kind of walking around hearing about the stories. And I wanted to do more, but I kind of dabbled in all this and did my own investigating, actually, when I was a little bit older. And then, of course, the TV shows, the ghost shows became pretty popular. And that's when I decided I'm going to start a team where we do a tour, we talk about the history and the ghost stories, and we use equipment. So we integrated all that. And then I know Sherri, she started having experiences too when she was young.
Yeah, I was actually a little older when I had my first experience. I was actually around I was 18, and I was visiting family in Hawaii, and they lived on the naval base there in Hawaii, and I stayed with them at their place. And one night, I guess I was staying in their son's room, was woken up, and I saw this figure standing beside me. And at first, I was thinking, I'm just half asleep, right? I'm just seeing things. And I just kind of felt like I was frozen. I just kept staring at the figure, and it just kind of turned and went back into the closet. And I thought, well, this was just a dream. And I went back to sleep. And the next morning I got up and I was telling the family what had happened. And they were like, "Oh no, you just met our ghost." And I was like, "What?" And they said, "Yeah, he likes to visit in the night." I was like, "Okay, I wish someone would have told me that before I stayed in that
would have been
room."
nice.
Yeah, right.
So,
Little heads
so
up.
then they started telling me about the stories, and I just was more intrigued about it. And then because that happened to me, it just really just piqued my interest in the paranormal. And so I started doing my research and, watching shows. And I was like Lesley, I would go do the ghost tours, but it really wasn't what I was wanting to do. It was more like the walks and, history. And I liked the history aspect of it, but I also wanted to see if there was something there. And so when I actually went on one of Leslie's tours and we used the equipment and everything, that's when I was like, yes, that's what I really want to be doing. Been with her team ever since. It's been great too.
Great, yeah, and that's what we as a team, we at our tours, we really bring that immersive, interactive experience using hands-on, equipment.
Yeah.
The paranormal equipment like you would see on television, that it's very expensive, and just the normal person, that's dabbling in this is not going to invest in this equipment. It's they make it so expensive, but they get to actually use that stuff. And when people are using the equipment and having the experiences on our tours, it's just incredible. It's awesome. I mean, people go away just with literally sometimes life-changing moment. I mean, I mean, we have people that are not believers, that are skeptics. They've come into the tour with a closed mind, but after the night is over and they've used the equipment, they've experienced things themselves, they are changed. I mean, we've had that over and over happen. So this is, there's not a lot of teams in Alabama that do this type of tour. We're one of the ones. It's more popular, I would say, up in the New England states and some other states, but again, Southern Ghost Girls tours, we do these all over Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, and we love it. We love meeting the people. We love seeing the experiences they have, and it's really fun.
When you're experiencing these things, well, so Sherri, you talked about being in Hawaii and having kind of your first experience. So do you feel like, and I guess Lesley, same question for you, you feel like you've gotten messages, like, do you feel like they are reaching out for a purpose, or is it just because you're more just open and sensitive and it's just kind of attracted to you in that way? Or do you feel like there is really something there that they are saying, okay, because we've had guests on before that it just seems like they're almost like a beacon, and it's their, spirits and are attracted to them because of that, for that reason. And so they tend to have more, I mean, they might be in a house with other people, and those other people don't experience the same things that they're experiencing. So it's almost as if there's some kind of attraction there, and malignant or not, because we've had both, where they feel like, okay, this is not a good thing. I don't want to have anything to do with this. Or in other times they're just like, no, I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel threatened. It was more of just, hey, I'm here. I want to let you know I'm here. Or sometimes in some cases, we've even have guests where they felt protected by these spirits and things, that they were there for a reason, that they wanted to protect them. They wanted to look out for them. So in your experiences, have you had one more than the other, or is it a mixed bag?
For me, I think it's a mixed bag. I mean, I like to believe it's, a purpose is really what I like to believe. I have had some negative things come through. Fortunately, haven't really had any bad experiences. I try to shut things down if something negative comes through, right? But I like to believe that they come through because they have a message for us. They have a purpose, right? And I'd like to hear that message and see if we can help them.
It's more like messages, and it's usually positive, or to try to keep someone out of trouble. Or like if I go into a place, I will immediately be able to tell, like, oh, there's some negative energy. There's just something, going on. And I also will feel the very positive energy. It's kind of mixed also. But I also feel like there's empathic people, and then there's people who really close themselves off and are shut off and don't have an open mind towards things. But I think spirit is with us all the time. I mean, I feel like loved ones from the past, they are with us. They are with us and guiding us and giving us messages. And there are other spirits that are calling out for help. I mean, we've had things happen. You just got to have an open mind.
Yeah. And I would say, so I know when we visited the tour, so I think, and it probably happens a lot with so many people in a specific area, but if you're thinking about a particular investigation that you were on, and sometimes spirits, you talked about it, right? When we started the tour, you said, sometimes there's spirits that are here, and then other times there's some that are brought, and it's whatever comes through. But I feel like, so the ones that come with folks probably have a message. But what I'm curious about, because we did come across the angry butler, and so I'm curious too about dealing with, because my son, at the Lowry House, I mean, he's convinced that somebody tripped him down the stairs. And I think, Lesley, it was your mom that said, she pulled me aside and she said he's been known to not appreciate children, and kind of go after children. And so it's one thing to have those spirits that coming through that have a message, but it's another one where you're in their place, essentially. I mean, that's their home. This is where they are, in dealing with that. So do you have any, like, what are some experiences that you've had with those types of spirits that you may have, are a little bit more questionable, or not really sure how to handle, those different types of spirits?
I feel there is a difference between spirit and a ghost. A ghost is more, it's someone literally that is stuck in a place or a situation. There's theory, and a lot of it is based on Catholicism, that there's a purgatory, correct? So a lot of it, the ghost, they have unfinished business, or they're not ready to go on to see the light. They're, and they're just kind of stuck there living in that purgatory state. And a lot of times we will have ghosts that come through, and the butler, he would be more of a ghost he is, I feel, attached to the Lowry House. I do know a couple of times he has touched children. I mean, like, touched their back, pushed children. And we don't have a lot of really young children that come to the investigations, but it's usually boys, and they're a little older, older kids or young teens. You said your son had gotten pushed. We had 2 other little boys that had scratches on their back. Now, they were not deep or bad or anything like that, but you saw, the little boys were like, we got scratched. And they came over there and showed us, and yes, both little boys had scratches on them. Again, it wasn't like bad. They weren't bleeding or anything like that. Just kind of like a red spot, going down their back. You've had some more experiences there?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had any negative experiences there. But I mean, I've had doors open and close on cue. We've had hangers like fly out of the closet there, ask questions. There's one particular room in that house that seems to me anyway, seems to be the most active. And it's the Underground Railroad room is what they call it. Every time I'm actually in that room, I have something happen. And that's where I always have the most activity. That's where I had the door open and close, and that's where the hangers flew out of the closet. Other team members have had experiences in that room as well.
The lights have gone on and off.
Yeah.
On like you ask if there's somebody in here, can you turn the lights on, and they will come on. Open the door, and I was sitting there for that. I saw the door open.
Yeah, it actually had opened once before in the night. We were asking questions, and the door just opened. So the next tour group that came in through the rotation, we were like, let's try to get it to open the door again. And we were asking questions, and was like, we know you can do it. You did it earlier. Can you show us you can do it again? Can you open the door? And it took just a few seconds, but the door opens, and we were, all ecstatic about it. And we were like, can you close the door? And immediately the door just closes by itself too. So it was just like, everybody was just shocked when that happened. And there was actually someone in the room that was a skeptic. When they got there and when that door opened and closed on cue, they were like, you guys did that. You have something, hooked to the door. You're playing tricks on it. And I'm like, no, you can check the door, sir. I promise there's nothing there. And he did. And he ended up leaving a believer. So.
And see, and I mean, we're just not all, we actually are skeptic too. I mean, it's going to take a lot of evidence to really get us excited.
It does.
It does.
And with my engineering background, I'm one that I like to try to debunk things first, before I say that was paranormal.
And I mean, we do. I mean, if somebody is, but I know, like, I was sitting in there when that door was opening and closing, and that gets me excited,
Mm-hmm.
And the room that she's talking about is called the Underground Railroad room because the Lowry House was part of the Underground Railroad. So enslaved people, when they were trying to escape the South to get up north, they actually were hidden in that house, in that secret room. And there is a lot of energy. You walk in that room and you feel it. I don't particularly like to even go in there because I am really empathic, and it kind of overwhelms me. I get like this heaviness. You can feel it though when you walk in that room. So it has a lot of history to it. And we've had some more experiences at Lowry House too. Now that's this grumpy butler. He likes to hang out in the kitchen. Also, in the pantry, he had presented himself as an apparition to an actress that was there for a play that a group of people were putting on in Huntsville. Nothing related to paranormal, but she was waiting in the kitchen and opened. It was almost her time to go out onto the stage area, and he opened the door, and there he was. So, but I do believe the butler is there for real. This is really my number 2 most paranormal experience of my life. And again, I'm a skeptic to a point, but we were on a break. It was a tour just like you had attended there at the Lowry House. And you know how we would take breaks. And me and another tour guide, she and I were just standing by the stairs. And all of a sudden, we saw this dark shadow entity, like just literally slither across the floor.
On all fours, right?
Yes, it was on all fours.
I don't like that
No.
adjective.
So
It's like a
Slytherin is not
snake.
good.
Oh, God.
it was like, it was very dark, and we all saw it. I mean, it was, I didn't want to alarm anyone, but I looked at Tab and I said, Tab, and she knew as soon as I looked at her, because there were some customers right next to us talking, and she said, "Did you just see that?" And I said, "Yes, I just saw that. That was really crazy." I walked into the room. There was nobody in the room. I mean, there was nothing. So, but then the same exact night, this had happened to me. I had purchased some new earrings that I was wearing, and I had the earrings on. This was towards the beginning of the tour. They were big, like rhinestone earrings, so they were big, and you could tell I had them. Well, I walked outside to do introductions. I had not been anywhere except for the living room, and then walking out the hall to the outside. And I put my hand up, and I went, "Oh my goodness, my earring is gone." And I thought, where could it be? So I walked back in my path that I had just come from, looked under the tables. It was gone. And I'm like, this is weird, because I'm an earring person. I always got to have earrings, and I can't stand to lose something. So it was getting on my nerves. I was like, ah. But I went ahead and did the introductions, and I took my other earring off and put it in a drawer. And so did the introductions. We did our first round at the ghost tour. We saw that's when we saw the weird shadow figure entity that slithered across the floor on all fours. And then I was like, this is a weird night, because I knew I had that earring in my ear. And I then I just kept looking for the earring. I was like looking under furniture. I was looking everywhere, because it was a big rhinestone earring, and you could find it. Well, we went the entire tour. I never found my earring. So we were closing up, and this happened about, I don't know, 6 months ago. We were closing up the Lowry House. We were the last people there. I said, well, I'm going to go to the restroom before we leave. I walked into the restroom, finished up. I was washing my hands, and I turned around and looked in the mirror, and that earring was suspended, and I'm not kidding, by my right earlobe, like floating in the air, and then it just shot into the wall and hit the floor.
No
Yes.
way.
Yes. And I immediately am like, this can't be true. This just didn't happen, because that takes a lot of energy for something like that to happen. That's like a poltergeist activity, when something moved across.
Ooh, I got full goosebumps on that one. That's scary.
Literally, I was blown away, because I know that earring was nowhere to be found. I had taken the other one off, and then now one is suspended, like literally by my earlobe, and just slammed. And it slammed so hard, my mom in the other room heard it. And I picked the earring up, and the earring still had the back on it. I mean, the back was closed on it. And I was like, I'm getting out of here.
You might need to go back to that bathroom stall after that.
I tell you, and at that house, at the Lowry House, I have always, when I go into the bathroom, I feel a heaviness, a presence there every time. And I always feel like they're watching me, and I'm in the bathroom, which is not good, but
we've never really had any experiences in there till
right.
then.
And this was so shocking to me. And I see a lot of paranormal things happen that, I immediately called like everybody, and I was texting everybody. I was like, y'all are not going to believe this. And then a regular person would never believe that story. But and I was like, am I crazy? Was it? No. That earring, it was like somebody was trying to play a trick on me. They took my earring, and then they gave it back at the end of the night. And
it's just so weird that you never felt it coming out, during that night too. So they had to be sneaky enough to take the little back and the whole rhinestone,
I just can't believe it.
put it back together.
I cannot believe it. And I promise you I'm not making it up, because that is probably my number 2 of all time experience. I have no explanation for it. That was just crazy.
It takes a lot to freak Lesley out, and she was pretty freaked out that night.
I know, because I don't get freaked out very often at all. But that was like personal, it like took my earring, and we saw that thing crawling across the floor, and then it shows up.
It seemed very targeted. Yeah. Like it was very targeted to you, specifically. Like, I'm going to take this, and it's going to bug her, and and then it's like, oh, here it is, and then boop, like it's not like it just dropped. It flung, so it's getting your attention.
Yeah, I mean, it crossed.
I think it wanted Lesley to know it was right there watching her. Is really what I think.
From what I
went back and got the other earring, and I'm like, here's both earrings, and there was nothing that anybody was there that could have done a trick on me or anything. And when I first lost the earring, I said, well, I remember going to the bathroom, in that back bathroom. And I even went in there and looked behind the toilet, and I was like looking in the garbage can. Like I am, if I lose something, it really drives me nuts. I mean, that's just my personality. And I was looking everywhere, and then I saw the earring, and I was like, this is nuts. But that was, I'm never going to understand it. I'm just not. I was like, was it in my hair? I mean, this is crazy. It wouldn't have been. I mean, I looked everywhere. So that was weird. And the back still on it was
yes. The back being on it is, because if you lost it, if it fell out, it wouldn't be connected.
Yeah.
And I just picture like these little ghostly hands like taking it out and putting it back together. And I mean, it's a tiny little like mechanism.
I don't have an answer for that. I mean, like, I just don't. So, but we still go there. and I didn't feel harmed or in danger. It was more like it was just letting me know, I'm watching you, and I took your earring, and I'm trying to drive you crazy type thing. So yeah, that place definitely does have ghosts and spirits and everything.
So with the dark slithering thing, I don't know what else to call it. What did you feel with that? I mean, because you said with the earring, you didn't really feel, but like with that, was it? I mean, because normally we associate kind of dark, shadowy things, not well. And so, I mean, did it give any kind of sense of feeling, or was it more, I'm just checking things out, just like, what was the feeling with that dark figure?
Well, and I am not one to see like just apparitions. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I know some people see apparitions and see, shadow figures or things at the corner. That is not me. I don't experience that. So this was one of the first times I've really ever experienced anything. We've seen a shadow like at the Drish house, like a thing coming out of the bathroom. That's a whole other story. But this thing, it was kind of a creepy feeling, like I'm watching you, like I'm here, and I don't know. Usually most people would associate that with negative, but I didn't feel like it was evil, but I just felt like it was something maybe associated to the earth, maybe some like elemental maybe that was there and wanted us to know it's there. But me and Tab both saw it, so I wasn't crazy. And we try not to alarm the guests. That was that was the other thing. Like, we were keeping it really hush, and people would probably freak out if they knew it was a dark elemental type thing on all fours crawling across the floor.
So Lesley, you said that earring experience was your second, like, most paranormal. What's your first?
Well, that's a whole nother story that I just won't get into it tonight. But it involved, let's just say, me on it was Halloween night on a
Oh.
long highway that was in the woods, and something appeared. This was with me and my ex-boyfriend, and let's just say after that, yeah, our relationship deteriorated. After we experienced this, and he couldn't handle it, and he kind of had a breakdown. I mean, honestly,
Geez.
and lost his job, and just all kind of things. He just couldn't explain what had happened. But that would be my number one. But yes, we experienced something that hovered over our truck, and we had some things. Anyway, it was not of this earth. Let's just say that it really was shaped like, I would say, like a pterodactyl or some kind of giant winged creature. Yeah, it was. I mean,
More like Mothman.
we were coming back from that investigation, and he was not a believer. I mean, like, he was your number one. This is stupid. This is all fake. And I'm like, I kept telling him, no, no. I mean, he was such a skeptic, and he was very, he had been raised in a very religious church every Sunday. But after that, we were just riding home in the truck, and it had just turned midnight, November 1st, and from the left side, this like creature thing that literally looked like some kind of winged creature, like hovered over our windshield and just like stayed there. And then from the right side, this bright, I always call it like Star Wars light came, and then the thing just like disintegrated. And the cab of my truck lit up in the brightest blue light you've ever seen. And we just looked at each other and went, oh my God, what was that? And we were like, should we call the police? I mean, like, we didn't know what had happened. We both separately afterwards, he couldn't sleep for about 2 or 3 days. And we actually drew pictures of what we saw separately, and we're telling people separately, but it was always the same exact creature thing that we saw. And that was really crazy. That's my number one experience.
I like that.
People don't believe me when I say this. I know it is just really far out there, but it did happen.
So what were you doing before that? Maybe something followed you?
Possibly, yes. It was actually Halloween night, and we had been doing a ghost hunt in Jasper, Georgia at the historic jail. And now that place isn't, there are some negative things. Yes, there are some negative energies that are there. Really bad people were there. And it was built around 1901, I believe. And we had done that, and we were coming home. But he kept telling me, he was like, I feel like I'm in this Twilight Zone, like some sort of time warp on our way home. And I kind of felt it too, but not like he was experiencing. And as soon as we were, I don't know, we were probably 20 miles from my house, and that's when we experienced that. But he never got over it. Whatever this creature was, it was like almost like a shapeshifter. That's a whole nother, thing. But it just literally appeared, and we saw it like flying toward us. And, but then the light that came from our right side that hit this thing and made it disintegrate, and the whole cab of my car lit up. That was the weird thing too. It was only the inside of the cab lit up, and like when you're in the tanning bed or something, you know how bright those lights are? It was like that bright for like this flash. And I had some magnets advertising Southern Ghost Girls tours on the doors of the truck, and they flew off. But we never felt an impact. There was not an impact or anything. That was it. I mean, I don't, I would not wish that on anyone. let's just say that.
Nothing like that.
I'm really a
experienced anything like that.
very scientific person. I mean, like I am very spiritual, but I'm also very scientific, and I'm thinking we've tried every which way possible to figure out what this was. And I actually later talked to a police officer from my hometown here, and he said there had actually been some reports of this thing, that we experienced, that we saw, and that they had called it the holidactyl, because the city was Holly Pond. I mean, the town we were going through, and it does look like a pterodactyl. I mean, you've heard of the Mothman.
The Mothman.
I mean, this thing, and he said there had actually been some other reports, but nobody really will come forward because they think we're crazy. Like, this girl is psycho. But anyway.
Well, there's so many different cryptids. I mean, this might be a local cryptid again, like you said, the holodactyl. If there's other people but are just not talking about it, yeah.
It's. I honestly am afraid to tell people because they
No, I mean, and that was going to be my question.
Well, I mean, for it to happen to both of us, and we saw it, we saw it like flying toward us, and it was not an owl. I mean, we have gone through, I have researched how long and what owl wings look like, what, vulture wings look like, what, whatever night creature this could be. And this was none of that. We both saw and were repeating back, oh my God, that was the same thing. Because it was almost like a translucent white, and you could see all the veins in its wings, and it had hoofed claws, and it looked, like a bat, but like a pterodactyl. What I was describing. And there was I've never seen anything like this, but that white light that came from the right side hit it, and the inside of the cab lit up bright blue, and then the magnets, we heard them go off the car. And this all happened in literally probably 3 seconds, but my feeling, and I thank God, I say my prayers, thank you. I feel like that was my guardian angel. Because people have angels, we have angels, but in researching things, I feel like the guardian angel came out and, kicked that thing's butt.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Because the white light, it was like, anyway, I don't have an explanation for it. Maybe I will one day understand, but Sherri, have you had anything like?
I have not had anything like that happen.
So. And you can tell when people, I'm not trying to get attention. You can tell when people are making up stuff, trying to, get attention or stuff like that. And
no, well, you didn't even want to tell us this, and we just kind of pushed it out of you little by little. You're like, I'm not talking about it. So I know that you're not telling it.
Number one story.
Not by your own volition.
I don't really go out advertising this, and it was really scary. Like,
yeah.
So I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. You mentioned the difference between ghosts and spirits, and you talked about the butler being a ghost. So how do you feel a spirit is different?
Well, really a spirit is someone, I feel, who has crossed over. I believe in heaven, of course, and the afterlife and eternal life, and I feel like the spirit is someone's soul that has lifted from the shell of this body's shell. We are, we're just in a shell, and we're here, and the spirit leaves and crosses over to heaven. But they are still able to communicate, come back, watch over their loved ones, actually help loved ones, help people, guides, spirit guides. And I don't feel that is a negative at all. When Whereas a ghost is just kind of stuck here. They have not literally, their soul has not gone on. And you usually can kind of, I can feel the difference. Do you?
Yeah. I feel like a ghost is more like they're trapped there.
Yeah.
So do you feel like the ghost doesn't, do they necessarily maybe not know that they're dead, or do they like reliving the same cycle? Like they're trapped in whatever place that they're at, and that's where they're stuck. Whereas spirits, like we were talking about, the Lowry House, like spirits will come with people, so they can deliver a message, but the ghosts are kind of stuck there.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel, that they're just kind of stuck there. Some of them may not realize that they're even, dead, and they're just trying to find their way. They don't, and I guess it would be hard if you don't know you passed away and you're trying to reach out to someone and nobody can hear you or see you. When we come in, I think that they look at us, that we're there to help them, and they'll, we'll try to help them, but they just don't know how to cross over, and they're just kind of trapped. And we have helped. We feel like we've helped spirits cross over before.
Or ghosts.
Ghosts.
It's an interesting distinction, because who do you think then stole your earring? I mean, that almost could be like a third thing. I mean, you said it was very elemental, so almost like a poltergeist.
Yeah, I feel like that was probably more of a ghost, something that is stuck there, like a residual haunting of like a ghost that is stuck in that house, just some sort of energy. And a lot of times, I feel like sometimes these people have done bad things, and I don't feel like they want to go.
I think they're afraid.
They're afraid. They
to
want judgment.
Right, what's on the other side?
Yeah, they're afraid of what's on the other side.
Well, or we've heard stories about, things that present as children, something super harmless, but, they're not
Like
children.
you can,
and they present in a way to make you feel comfortable.
Had that happen.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not necessarily it was a private investigation. We feel like they were pretending to be children, and playing tricks, and so we've actually experienced similar things.
But you can also feel an energy shift when that happens. You literally can feel like, okay, that spirit is gone that we were just communicating with through our, equipment or using, psychic mediumship work. You feel it. It just literally goes, and then you feel something else come in, and we all kind of look at each other. We really do. That's the crazy thing. We look at each other and we're like, and Sherri, she picks up on it really good. She's like, I don't think they're here. They're gone.
Yeah, I usually can tell if we're communicating with a spirit that's, pretty open with us. It's like, and then all of a sudden something different happens. It's just kind of out of character with what we were talking to the spirit about. I feel like that I usually get the feeling, hey, we're not talking to the same spirit. That spirit's no longer there. There's something else here that's trying to pretend it's that spirit, and I kind of can pick up on that usually.
It's like a whole new energy.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, Lesley and Sherri, I know we're running you guys late, and this has been really good. We may need to pick up with you at a different time. I know we've got like East Coast bedtime, West Coast dinner going on over here.
We do have a lot of stories we could tell. Places we've been to.
So real quick, just can you tell a little bit about the Lowry House? I know we've talked about the Lowry House, and it was an underground railroad stop. Can you tell a little bit more about the history of the Lowry House?
Yeah, it was built around late 1840s, and it was John Lowry who owned the house and built it. It was much more acreage than you see today. Now it's just like one half acre or
Probably about half
something.
acre.
But it was, Dr. John Lowry, he did own the house, and it did still, it was standing during the Civil War. And when General Sherman came through, with the Union Army, he pretty much, when he came to Alabama, Tennessee, he was very destructive. He burnt everything in its path. He let his soldiers, do things that really aren't even, necessary or legal. I mean, he just let them run havoc. So they burned most of Huntsville, but the Lowry house was still standing. And there was a woman there. She was a relative, Anne Lowry. She actually was still in the house while the others were away. And what has been told, and it is documented, is that when Sherman's troops came through, Miss Anne Lowry, she ran downstairs. She was on the porch. She was trying to get them to stop and not, enter the house. Put down your weapons. But instead of doing that, they actually shot her dead on the porch, Miss Anne. So she was killed on the porch. And it was really, really sad, because this house was actually, the family were more Union sympathizers, and that house was actually being used for Underground Railroad for people to escape. And Miss Anne, everybody through the years has some sort of story that has association with the house of seeing Anne Lowry either on the stairwell, or it's a room called the bride's room, looking out the window. They've had several sightings of her, but it stayed in the family. I know in the 1900s, it had started going down. It was actually a boarding house at one time. So see, you've got a lot of like residential ghosts or spirit that we know, we think are from that boarding house era. And then it started going downhill, and then Jane Tippett and her husband purchased the Lowry house. I think it was early 90s.
Yes. It's the 90s, early 90s, and then they refurbished it.
Yes, they did a complete $1 million refurbishment, renovation to bring it back to what it is today. And it's been used as, a venue for celebrations, weddings, and things like that. But also now ghost hunts. Because it has such a rich history in ghostly sightings that have occurred there. But if you research it, it does have a lot of Civil War history. I mean, you can pull it up on different documentaries on PBS and some different places that have actually done documentaries on the Lowry house and the use of the Underground Railroad.
No, there's also unmarked graves in the backyard.
Well, somebody hung himself in the backyard, right? There was,
Yes.
And we understand that was during the boarding house days, because it was divided up into apartments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but there's so many different things, entities there. And apparently a shadow figure that, likes to crawl across the floor. That's a new one. I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him since.
And loves rhinestone earrings.
The jewelry, yeah. I mean, there's just like Sherri was saying, hangers flying off the wall, and
yeah. I mean, we get multiple spirits coming through. Just, I mean, we've had spirits from the Underground Railroad. Just ones that have passed through there before have come through. So it's not just spirits that are affiliated with that area or that house.
And one thing we couldn't explain, this was in the past year, we had, they like to do things when you're not filming or taking pictures or recording. That's one of the things,
that
too.
That seems like a common thing.
We had a group, it was on the tour, so there was probably about 15 people downstairs in the living room area. And it was me, I was down there, and another tour guide, and everybody was quiet. We were getting ready to do an experiment that we do called the human pendulum. Everybody was quiet. Nobody was recording anything. And we all heard, all 15 people, a crying, wailing woman crying right outside the wall, right where the staircase is. We all heard it. And we all immediately looked at each other, and I opened the door really fast, and there was nobody there. Nobody was there outside that door. So we had that within the last 6 months.
Yeah,
happen.
that was recently.
But nobody was recording it. We didn't get that. And one girl thought she was recording it, and she said she pressed the wrong button. So we didn't catch that, but that would have been incredible.
Knew she pushed the wrong button.
Yeah, because they don't like to present themselves really when you're filming.
Right. Ghosts don't always work on cue, right? They don't work on cue.
That is a very good note to wrap up on. Yeah, I thank you so much, Sherri and Lesley Ann, for meeting with us tonight and giving me lots of goosebumps.
We're looking forward to the next parts.
Great. Well, I sense some sequels. So, yes, again, thank you so much for coming on. And I guess for now, if no one has anything else to say, take it away, Mom.
Thank you for listening, and remember to keep that night light on. Good night, sweet dreams.
If you have a story to share, please send it to notyourmothersbedtimestory@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Not Your Mother's Bedtime Story. And please help us grow by following us on your favorite podcast platform, leaving us a positive review, and telling a friend. Thank you for your support.